and welcome to the Dave DY Show once again, my friends. I'm going Casey Neistat. I want to wear the shades. I remember watching that, 2-3 years ago. He painted him white and then scraped him off, and then he always wore the shades. And if you look at Casey, he's got a weird face. He's got big googly eyes. I think it was because he was conscientious of his eyes and whatnot. Not a good-looking dude, not a terrible-looking dude, but yeah, I don't know, wearing glasses all the time on your podcast doesn't seem to make sense to me, so I won't. I got my spider hat from when I, whatever it used to be, skied or snowboarded, eons ago. But it's cold down here in Florida for the last 2 days. All right, so if you don't like mixed martial arts, you're going to want to stop watching this now. Yeah. Who doesn't like mixed martial arts? Come on. Yeah. I think everybody should. If they don't, I will come and give them a private lesson, and we'll make you like mixed martial arts. Sucker! I know some of my famed friends do. Ron Anaya, out there in Denver, Colorado. Winner! Loves it. He's been to the show down in Vegas. The Dojo Master, now the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think he's a brown belt. Right below a black belt. Master Kevin McLaughlin. Oh, I just kill you. Yeah. So there's a fight night coming up tonight. So there's a lot of weird shit going on if you aren't aware, right? It's UFC Fight Night 143. And there was supposed to be a UFC 233 coming up in a week. I think the 26th or whatever. This fight night is this Saturday, the 19th, in Brooklyn. In fucking Brooklyn, New York. So if you ain't, going to the show in Brooklyn, you can fuck you. Fuck you, man. Like Jersey. Like Jersey that I grew up with. Fucking Jersey. These fucking guys were over there, these fucking dudes, they came and it was fucking crazy. What the fuck? So it's in Brooklyn, and the main headline fight is a world-class, one of the greatest, going to be another documented great fight, I suspect. Henry Cejudo, who has won gold medals and now beat Demetrius Johnson, not controversial, but to me it was semi-controversial. Beat Demetrius Johnson for like the little flyweight title, the littlest guys in the UFC gentlemen's class, which is supposedly going away because Demetrius Johnson has been given to, I don't think it was, I don't know if it was Strike Force or not Strike Force, with the other competitive fighting venue, or maybe even what was formerly Pride, one MMA or one whatever. Dana White gave him away. And they brought Ben Askren over. And Ben Askren still has not fought. And Ben Askren, I think, was supposed to fight on this Saturday's card. So they're still struggling, and I'm not sure if it's with injury, with contract, with agreement, with timing, to get Ben Askren lined up in a fight. It's been with the same individual. They just keep postponing it. But Cejudo, after he beat DJ, won the belt, Demetrius Johnson, he's now moving up. TJ Dillashaw's moving down-ish. And they're going to have a fight for a championship. TJ Dillashaw destroyed a lot of the Brazilians. Renan Barão, Jose Aldo. And destroyed Cody Garbrandt twice, who has some dynamite in his hands and owns that belt. And he has become an elite striker. I don't know what it was. I think people were looking at the Cyborg fight with Amanda Nunes, and they were like, oh, it seems like everybody is, winning on strikes anymore. Guys, gals, everyone watching this thing. If you are a world-class striker and you are at the top of your game, fitness, injury, technique, training, mindset-wise, No one is going to beat you. No one. Striking. Blows with your fists, with your elbows, with your knees, with your feet. To the head, to the body, to the legs. They always will supersede any type of grappling, any type of takedown, any type of submission. They're done at a distance. You can do them with an extended range as long as you have good movement. The best strikers in the world, 9 out of 10 times, will always beat any other type of fight master. You have elite individuals who do leg locks, who do submissions, who do guillotines, who do arm bars. Ronda Rousey won her first 7 or 8 bouts with arm bars. She was a judo queen. Striking, taking blows to your brain will always supersede any type of grapple, twisting, pressuring, choking of the body. Great, it's great, close combat, but it will always supersede. We saw Khabib Nurmagomedov destroy Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor, who was probably hands down the greatest striker in history. One of in the UFC. He hadn't fought for 2 years. He'd boxed. Boxing is not mixed martial arts. It's not real striking. It's technique, fully technique, with big 16-ounce gloves. He was worried about his future. So I don't think that was the greatest Conor McGregor. But that's not to say Khabib Nurmagomedov is not the greatest python, the greatest Sambo wrestler, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan fiend that has ever gone in there and just constricts you, destroys you. Has the weight of, Atlas. The guy just sits on you and crushes you and is powerful. Strikers will always reign. They may lose on occasion, but the striking in the UFC is the UFC. When you hit someone in the face with a fist or an elbow or a knee or a kick, we have a nerve that runs down our chin. 97.75% of humanity. Boop, lights out, you go to sleep. You don't have to constrict their, arteries or veins to their brain. You don't have to twist an arm. You don't have to get them to tap. They're gone. Striking reigns supreme, and that's just the case. Pugilism, striking, fisticuffs. And why people are surprised by that. Why the greatest Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the greatest Sambo wrestling, the greatest... Khabib strikes now. He beat Conor up and knocked him down with a punch. If you don't fucking strike in mixed martial arts, in global combat, you will lose. Rarely will you be top. And if you look at Jose Aldo and Renan Barão and Rafael dos Anjos, all these guys, the greatest mixed martial artists, Bigfoot Silva from Brazil, they had to learn to strike because rolling alone got them ruined. They ate fists to the head. And hybrids like Lyoto Machida, where he used a karate style, or the Wonder Boy, Stephen Thompson, where they had range, still had off-center, leaning, away power strikes, kicks, strikes, karate. So... I want to put that to rest, man. If you don't think striking rules, it always has, it always will. A punch to your head will knock you the fuck out. A choke will do the same, but you got to get within their fucking space, in their guard, and you've got to grapple them. And before you ever do that, you're eating some lead, some dynamite. Some of these dudes are exemplary strikers. So I wanted to state that. Striking is striking. It rules the roost, always will. Henry Cejudo is not a striker. Gotten slightly better. The guy was a premier, world-class, exceptional, top-tier, highest-level Olympic wrestler. A little spark plug, a little powerhouse who won the gold. I think in freestyle wrestling, not Greco like Daniel Cormier. I think who only won a bronze. I don't think he won a gold. Greco is upper body only. You never go with legs. Freestyle, you can shoot. You can do takedowns with heel hooks. You can shoot in and do a single leg shoot or a double leg and lift them. You can use the legs. You can wrap the legs around them put them in moves when they're on the ground. They pull it off quickly if you don't have action in wrestling, but you can do all kinds of shit, man. So yeah, Cejudo's world class with that. TJ Dillashaw with Dwayne Bang Ludwig has become one of the best strikers. He took a hybrid Dominic Cruz, weird moving, multi-angle, irregular pattern style of striking, combined it with what he learned in Team Alpha Male for many years. Team Alpha Male are exclusive guillotine artists. They tap you out with a rear naked choke, baby. Bye! And he turned into one of the premier fighters in the history of the UFC for the little men. He will knock you the fuck out. And he doesn't have the power that Cody Garbrandt has. He's still got knockout power, but it's not that pop, that bang bang, bang bang, and you're done. You're out. Go to sleepy. He'll hit you, he'll knock you down. He hasn't had many knockouts, he's had knockdowns, and then he chokes you the fuck out. Goes back to Team Alpha Male expertise. Behind you, you're asleep. That's going to be a sick fight. I thought Brian Ortega against Max Holloway would be a similar encounter. Max Holloway, El Kukui from Hawaii, is a stand-up expert. He's like the Diaz brothers. He's sinewy and thin. He has no knockout power. He has prolific jabs and strikes. He throws some kicks. He's always throwing. High volume. Throws the jab, comes around, got a good hook, got a good uppercut, knows how to throw elbows and knees, mixes it up, has good strike technique where he doesn't burn energy, he conserves, he's got insane cardio, he can go 5, 10, 15 rounds, 5 minutes, just kill you. TJ Dillashaw is similar, and Henry Cejudo is similar. Henry Cejudo has been working on his striking. I hope he does not focus on striking against TJ Dillashaw, as Brian Ortega did, and got his brains knocked out by Max Holloway. And I know, that's why I'm telling you striking is king, because all these guys that are submission artists, takedown artists, ground and pounders, cage artists, against the cage artists, they know they have to evolve to striking to assume the highest level. And unfortunately, just like Ronda Rousey, her first 7 fights, she armbarred a biatch, took their arm home with them. She ripped it off, put it in her bag, and walked away. Why the fuck wouldn't you do that every fight? Nope, gotta learn how to strike. And man, when you run into Amanda Nunes striking, she takes your head home with her at the tip of her fist. So, don't know how it will go. I hope it doesn't go like Ortega, T-City against El Kukui. I hope they don't stand and throw and TJ just beats his brains in. Cejudo didn't do that against DJ, against Demetrius Johnson, who is also a very able striker, a very able grappler, a very able submission artist. Even seemingly more well-rounded than TJ Dillashaw, who is a primarily stand-up killer. So, we'll have to see how this goes. I don't know how to predict it. I predict this. They will both come in exceptional shape. I hope neither has an injury. This is a weight cut for TJ. He usually hovers 10, 12, 15 pounds above this fight class. So, I think they're coming in at 135, not 125 like the little men, like they did with the Cejudo Demetrius Johnson fight. It's going to be a barn burner. TJ Dillashaw has an exceptional fight mind and plan. Henry Cejudo is learning that. Henry Cejudo had an exceptional wrestling mind. From the way that the wrestlers work, like Daniel Cormier, I have a feeling Henry Cejudo on a weekly basis evolves, grows stronger, smarter, better. Unfortunately for him, TJ Dillashaw has done the exact same. He was at Team Alpha Male. He saw that organization stall. He followed Dwayne Bang Ludwig. He followed the techniques, the multifaceted training. I've talked about this in the past. TJ goes out and wrestles on the open mat sessions. I walk into the gym as a newbie. I'm rolling in BJJ. Dillashaw's one of my partners as we rotate. What? Fucks you up! Because now he's dealing with an idiot And he needs to have that unfamiliarity. And that's extremely dangerous if you don't understand. When people are professional mixed martial artists, they have elite control ability. When people are learning mixed martial artists and you're a blue belt, a purple belt, right? Whatever you are, a yellow belt. And Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there's only like 3 belts, right? Brown and then black. But when they're learning, they don't have that ability to stop, to shut off. They don't have the mastering of the technique to fluidly manage it so that there's no danger. Dillashaw walks out on the mat with assholes who probably think, oh, fuck TJ Dillashaw. You moron. He's like, fuck it, dude. Which is a bit risky to me, but it is what it is. When you go down to Nova União and these Brazilian organizations, they do full all-out combat for training. And they're learning now that has diminished their career due to head blows, due to trauma. But still, dude, that machine is vicious down there because you got, just like us, 300 plus million people. And those cats, that gets them off the street. That gets them out of poverty. They become gods in Brazil. Who the fuck wouldn't put their life on the line for that? Inject everything that ever was made to make you giant. Follow exactly what any of the MMA gods, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu masters, the Gracie descendants tell you to do. Follow them explicitly, and you too will have a grand life of stardom, of godliness, of money, power, success, popularity. Maybe not even in Sao Paulo, maybe in LA or Hollywood, Florida, or Boston, or Tucson, or Phoenix, Arizona, wherever. Lofty goals, and for people that live in squalor and struggle to the top. That's why the Brazilian culture and teams are so essential and critical and epic. I mean, they're bred that way, and it's beautiful, but it's also a very destructive machine. They blaze through people, but they're learning just like everybody else. It's just harder, right? They have less money down there. They have more chaos down there. They have less, the facilities aren't as good. However, a lot of these stars are re-injecting income. They're building communities. They're bringing in, and it's a community. It's not just a gym. And you talk about Uriah Faber and these guys as a community, right? I bring out this prospect, this kid that looks like he's going to be epic or she's going to be epic into my gym, right? We give them everything. We put them up. We have barbecues. They are integrated into our family. That's how greatness is bred. It's not just training, practice, all your physical activities for fitness, It's a way of life for these people. You can't beat that. When you live, breathe, sleep, dream MMA, and you have the innate attributes, the genetic attributes to be great, and this machine now culls you, that's where these people come from. Just like in Russia, just like in Asia, just like in Central and South America. Here we're a little different, right? It's always a choice, and you run into a BJ Penn, an affluent kid that just has some kind of fucking chip right here, and he wants to shred every fucker that walks on the mat and eat you and drink your blood like Jack fucking Reacher from a boot. Da! So, sick fight. I don't know how to predict it, but TJ's dropping weight. I suspect it won't have any bearing. He's excellent at that. I hope they're both healthy, no injuries in training camp. If they come in, Cejudo had better take TJ down, and I suspect he will. Demetrius Johnson is one of the greatest takedown defense fighters in MMA, and Cejudo took him down 2 or 3 times in the second fight. In the first fight, he did not. TJ's very able. He's got good takedown defense. He's got good back defense when he's on the ground. He can get up quickly. He's got great cardio. He's got great fitness, so he will be able to continue to go. I suspect he will not stay on the ground. He won't stay against the cage. I suspect Cejudo will pressure him against the cage, pressure him to be taken down, single leg, double leg. I think Henry's expert move in the Olympics in freestyle wrestling was the double leg takedown. He had an exceptional shot, where you drop, you have a foot forward, you pivot, and you launch forward into a deep takedown where both legs are now wrapped. You go right up under them. They're right in on your midsection. You're done. Boop! 2-point takedown. Right? So I suspect that's what he's going to do. Cejudo, I don't suspect Cejudo will stand and strike. He may throw some strikes as a feel out. He'll see how TJ's takedown defense is. He'll get the range and the spacing, right? And then he's going to feint, drop, shoot, and take TJ down. TJ will have to get up, and he'll have to continue to pound. The beautiful part I stated about TJ, he moves in angles. He doesn't move forward, backward. He isn't rigid. He's got great head movement, which is great against a striker. Cejudo's not a great striker. That won't be a major factor. Cejudo's stocky. He could trick you and hit you with the blow. I wouldn't pay attention to that if I were in TJ's camp. I would pay attention to the takedown defense, and I would work on getting up from a double leg, where he's probably on side control, mission control, got your guard, whatever, even mounted, right? So it's going to be a great fight. These two have minds of iron. They have steel trap dedication. They are brutal. They have single objectives to crush, reign supreme, and move on. So if you don't watch this and it's a free fucking fight, you're stupid. I don't like you. I would like to state that right now. You're not my friend. Well, no, you can be my friend if you don't like fighting, but what are you doing? God damn, how do you not like fighting? I may come over to the house and take you out! Great fight. This is a controversial card. And it's a stupid controversy. Meaning it's not about fighting, but it is about violence, and it's about a topic that's crucially important in the media. It's always been a global topic that waxes and wanes. Rachel Ostovich was beat up by her ex-husband. Her spouse brutally abused her, busted her brain, broke her face, broke her orbital, I think broke an arm, ribs. Greg Hardy is on this card also. Greg Hardy is an ex-NFL player. I think he was above average, pretty good National Football League player, and he was convicted of abuse, domestic abuse, and he was thrown out of the NFL. So his career sort of ended in this massive blemish. I think he was in there 3, 5, 6 years, something like that. He was good, wasn't great, above average, good. I think he played for the Ravens or somebody, one of these thuggy motherfuckers. And they had film and stuff where he beat up a woman, and then he was convicted, and the NFL removed him because they had that zero tolerance policy, right? Because so many NFL players were involved in domestic abuse. So you've got high-profile individuals in very violent-fueled interchanges with males, females, right? Females, it doesn't work. So now you've got a convicted domestic abuse offender and a domestic abuse survivor on the same card. I think they've talked to Rachel Ostovich. She doesn't give a fuck. She wants to fight. She was supposed to fight. She got beat up by her husband. She had to recover, so now this is the fight. She's fighting Paige Van Zandt. Paige Van Zandt is good. Paige Van Zandt's small. She's that straw weight, 115 or whatever it is. 105. She's minute. She's very. She's an attractive girl. She's got a great figure. She's more Hollywood. She's got good technique. She's trained at Alliance MMA out in California, which is awesome for BJJ. They got some great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu experts. Johnny Farza, right? João Farza or whatever, trained under the Gracies, went up there. He's got Dominic Cruz. He's got some freaks in his crew, man. I think Alex Gustafsson trained out there recently when he was getting ready for Jones. I mean, this guy is a world-class, proven Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu expert. Mangles motherfuckers, has mangled motherfuckers, and has really, built some great students and some great amateur and professional athletes out in Southern California through his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training and gym. So, we'll have to see how Little Page plays. I don't think it's going to be an exciting fight. To tell you the truth, I've never seen that brutal. It's not Amanda Nunes. It's not Rose Namajunas. It's not ugly MMA, which is shitty because they still have great skill. There's tons of training. These girls have cardio, excessive cardio. They're unbelievably fit. They have wonderful skills. They're just smaller people, so you don't get per se the excitement. As a fight analyst, as a lover of mixed martial arts, it's fun to watch some of it. Often not as exciting. They don't have the punching power. They can still take you down, choke you out, put you in a bar, an arm bar, put you in a heel hook, fucking choke. They can still do a ton of cool shit, and a lot of these women do. So it'll be exciting, I think. I don't know how great of a fight it'll be. We'll have to see. Glover Teixeira's fighting Carl Robertson. Glover Teixeira, one of the epic Brazilian fighters. Not at the end of his career, but definitely not near the middle. He's been living here in the U.S. He's fully integrated. He's very, very gracious. He's a great speaker. He's a big man, heavyweight, a bruiser. Has had a who's who list of fights. Fought anyone. Brazilian, Australian, European, American. Just mauling people, getting mauled. Top 7, top 9. But I don't think he'll ever make it back to the top, and I don't think he'll ever hold a belt. Again, I think he held the belt once for a brief moment, and it was a surprise knockout against I don't know who, back in maybe the Cain Velasquez era or something like that. But he's an awesome dude. He's a great, gracious, thankful, well-spoken ambassador for mixed martial arts, for the UFC, for Dana White, for Zuffa, for the Fertitas, for everyone. You watch that guy fight. I mean, he's emotional. He understands how fucking blessed he is. It's very cool. I love the dude. This Carl Roberts, I don't know, one of the up-and-comers of the 400 and whatever, 90 fighters that are in the UFC, right, from all the acquisitions. He's 7-1-0, so we should see a decent fight there. Glover doesn't have the chin that he had. He takes shots to the head and he goes out, which is unfortunate. He can still take shots, but not only that, I don't want to see him taking multiple headshots anymore. He's older now. He's in his late 30s. There's no need for that. But like I said, the Brazilian machine, these guys have to continue to fight. They have to continue to establish their family, their gym, their lifestyle here in the U.S. with these big monies. And there are big monies. These guys are making $50,000. They have endorsements. They go around. They make money on their own projects on the side. They have their own gyms. And then they go back to Brazil and they do the same thing. So they have to continue to fight at the cost of their mental, physical health, which is unfortunate. Their brains get beat in, their bodies get destroyed. But that's the sacrifice, dude. And here's the fucked up part. They're so gracious in doing it. They'll give an arm, a leg, or whatever, and they'll tell you they do it exactly the same way. I come from shit, and I lived and am living the career of a superstar. Are you stupid? This is what I gave it up for. And next month, next year, I'm getting right back in the fucking octagon and do it again until Dana and these fight promoters, the makers, tell me I can't come back. End of story. That's why they're champs. To the end, at all cost. And that's the beauty of mixed martial arts. Brutal, but not football, where you have hundreds, thousands of head traumas on a monthly, annual basis. These, you take a blow to the head, you get beat up, you're out, you wake back up, you've had a concussion, sure, you've got traumatic brain injury, maybe you got, what's it called? Chronic traumatic encephalitis, whatever. You got some long-term brain damage. It's nowhere near the case of continual contact, high-speed impacts that football causes. And that's why rugby's rugby, right? You're not hitting guys at full force. You might have a traumatic injury. You tear a rotator cuff, you rupture your knee, you break a bone. Dude, you're fucking alive. That shit heals and you go on. And your brain still works. Football's brutal. There's a couple other fights on this. Joseph Benavidez and Dustin Ortiz. They're little guys. Benavidez fought Demetrius Johnson. Lost to him. I think Henry Cejudo against Benavidez. Cejudo, I don't know who'd win that. Probably be a decent fight. I don't know. Where Cejudo is right now, I suspect he'd win that. He seems to be really rising up and honing his skills and exponentially evolving as a greater mixed martial artist every year. As I said, Greg Hardy's fighting Alan Crowder. I don't know how that's going to go. Hardy's relatively new. I think he's 3-0. He's a football player that's got some kind of elite athleticism, is learning mixed martial arts, probably has some anger and violence. Clearly, he's beating women up. You're perfect! You're perfect for the UFC! We'll have to see how that goes, and I think there's a whole contingent of individuals that hope that he gets destroyed and that his girlfriend, ex-wife, run into the octagon when he's down and beat him a few more times. It's unfortunate. And it's bad to joke about that. There is no joking matter in domestic violence. I've talked about this in the past. It's very shattering. But again, that's the animal in humanity and the animal in men. And unfortunately, it continues, and there are no laws that will ever stop that in the privacy of our lives and through drug and alcohol use. You're always going to have predatory, violent, quick-reacting males who are going to beat people up. And sometimes the case it's going to be women, which is shitty. So I wish that on no one. I hope we continue to work on that and educate. And unfortunately, I know that on an hourly, daily basis, there are victims that continue to suffer that abuse. Nobody deserves to get beat up, dude. Violence blows. Fuck. That's why these guys are paid for it. It's their choice. You go in the fucking cage, the 24-foot octagon. You leave it out there. Dead bodies in the cage. Walk the fuck out. Hey, yeah, it was a good fight. Yeah, I was on top that day. Yeah, you look good, but I caught you. And I took your head home. It's hard to have that attitude and to maintain the sharpness of your mind, which we see in many fighters, because innately they have an anger and a hate. And that often is the fire that drives them to succeed, to achieve. But we're seeing now with the evolution of the sport, individuals that have none of that. They're simply scientific fighters. And they're scientific fighters at the top echelon of the training, the conditioning, the mental and emotional aspects of the fight game, the family and support, the fight clubs, the organizations where they go, everything about it. And it's a job. And my God, when you see people like Wonderboy Thompson, whose father has coached him his whole life as a karate expert, evolve into the fiend that he is now, and he's a good-natured kid. When we walk in the octagon, I may kill you, and I'm going to wait till that referee breaks us up. I'm going to kick you in the head and make your head pop off. And then he walks out and he's happy, and he gives you a hug, shakes your hand, says it was a great fight. You know, next time you'll get me, fuck you. It's the epitome of Olympians at the next level with that brutal component to it, that brutal rawness. So, great fights that are lined up on this thing, man. There's Gregor Gillespie against Yancy Medeiros. Gregor Gillespie is the guy that shaves his head and combs it over. He's a scary dude, and he's an enigma. I've seen him fight exceptionally well, and I've seen him fight flat. He's 12-0-0. Meaning, and when I say that, meaning I've seen him go in and maul people like a scary fiend, and then other times he didn't look sharp. Yancy Medeiros is just an outstanding fighter. The guy's got a lot of fights in the UFC. He's only lost a handful. So that's going to be a barn burner. If Gillespie is tight and comes into this thing sharp, that's going to be a great fight. I don't know who to call on that. Both these guys are good standing. They're good with submissions. Yancy Medeiros is a fiend. He's got great movement. He's got great cardio. Yeah, that's going to be another great fight. Free fights! They're going to be epic. TJ Dillashaw said when he dispatches Henry Cejudo Saturday evening, he will then move up and take on Max Holloway. And that is his request to the powers that be that own, run, schedule, and manage the UFC. This is the UFC's first contracted event with ESPN on their 5-year contract. Their Fox contract ended, so we are now on ESPN as the network for carrying these fights. Enjoy. It's ESPN Plus is the name of the pay-per-view that you can purchase and see all the fights. I don't know what it was called on Fox. It's like Fight Pass on UFC. So you can sign up for that for a $10 or $12 monthly fee. You get all access to all the legacy videos, interviews, media events, all that shit. ESPN Plus, I will never sign up for that shit. I've seen these fights. Why would I ever watch them again? I'll watch them illegally online. Thank you. UFC 233, which had a lot on this card in it, which was supposed to be the 26th, was canceled. And I think a piece of that was Ben Askren not being able to fight and some other components. And so they canceled that. They put some of the fights back on this card, such as TJ Dillashaw and Henry Cejudo, such that they would ensure a good audience, a high volume of watchers. And then they're going to have Fight Night 144 and UFC 234. And Fight Night 144, it's in Brazil, so it's got Rafael Assunção against Marlon Moraes. It's got Jose Aldo and Renato Moicano, Damian Maia, Lyman Good, Charles Oliveira. Dude, this is a fucking who's who of the killers when you walk around downtown Sao Paulo and you fuck around in the favela and try to rob somebody. And Rafael Assunção mangles you and eats your brain, eats your fucking arm, or picks you up and drops you on your brain, on your head. These guys are fiends. Just some ugly dudes wrestling. Again, that's a free fight night. And that's coming up on February 2nd in Centro de Formação Olímpica de Nordeste. I don't know where the fuck that is. Somewhere, one of the big cities down in Brazil. Get ready for that mofo. The Brazilians always show up. The Brazilians, regardless of the state of the country, if they're in labor throes, if they're in, brutal economic throes, where the sugar or whatever isn't working, and there seems to be growing poverty, they always show up and celebrate the fight game. They live by this. They love it. MMA and football, soccer, dude. Beautiful to watch them celebrate. And that's why they're exceptional. That's why they're world leaders in both of those categories. UFC 234! That's over in Rod Laver Arena in Australia. And of course, it's going to be there because you got Robert Whittaker. Whittaker's back, dude. And if you haven't watched Robert Whittaker, that guy is a nightmare. He's the Australian ego from your Aboriginal, tribal, giant English penal colony men with a fight acumen, a fight IQ that's on another level. Smart, well-spoken kid, understands conditioning, understands skill and learning, understands training, understands injury and recovery. And he's fighting Kelvin Gastelum. He should mangle Kelvin Gastelum. I think. He's had some recent losses. He's 20-4. He was on a ascending path as one of the most greatest ever for the middleweights, and then he sort of leveled out. I think he had some tough fights, and so this is going to be a pretty epic top 5 fight. Gastelum against Whittaker. And we'll have to see. I suspect Whittaker will win this. Whittaker's a striker primarily. He's got good submission and ground and pound skills, but he's primarily a striker. He stands and throws. Gastelum, he's a combination. He's a submission expert. He's got good takedowns. He can stand and strike. Not the greatest striker. Doesn't have the greatest technique. But you got Israel Adesanya against Anderson Silva on this fight. February 9th, the Spider comes back to fight his prodigy identical self. This Israel Adesanya has been compared to young Anderson Silva. He's long and sinewy. He's got incredible control of his body. He's got incredible control of his movement from his brain through his body. He's got kicks and spins. He analyzes the fight while it happens, like Anderson Silva did. He'd stand back, watch your movements, and then time you coming in and throw a knee or a front kick on your chin. Like I said, the nerve. Night-night. Who had front kick knockouts? Anderson fucking Silva against Lyoto Machida. Went to sleep. That was almost as brutal as John Jones choking Machida out against the cage in a front guillotine, and the ref picking up his hand like, dude, is he out? And Jones drops him, and he crumples against the fucking cage fence. You watch that and you're like, my God, what was that? That's a top-notch mixed martial artist that was just murked. He was mangled. Woo! Yeah, I will never forget those fights. Ever. They give me chills every time I think about them and watch them. That was evolution in mixed martial art combat. And you watch that shit and you were like, I don't know who that fucker is, but that quickly made the decision for me clear that I would never, ever go near the cage. You walk in and get ruined by a dude like that. When you're a global karate expert, you're a world-class, renowned karate mixed martial artist that has, destroyed everybody that's walked into the ring with you, the octagon. You get choked out like a bitch. So, some sick fights in Australia that are coming up. Dong Young Kim, Devontae Smith, Hani Yaya against Ricky Simon. Oh, Simon Simon. So he's an up-and-comer that's pretty tough. Hani Yaya's a freak, right? I think he wears the mask or whatever. He's a kook. He's got a fucking long list of fights. He's been around for a long time. He's a scary dude. He's like a Cowboy Oliveira. Just continues to hang around and is sharp and scary. And if you fucking underestimate him, will ruin you. Like, you're going to roll in and beat up, Alex Cowboy Oliveira. And this oily, light brown skinned dude comes in there who's happy and fun and fucking wrecks you. You're like, ooh, what just happened in Brazil? You got ruined, bitch. So, yeah, there's some sick fights in that upcoming UFC 234. I don't know if I'd buy it. I think it'll be great. I think I'll steal it, of course. I'll watch those illegally. But, man, there's some great fights coming up here. And I hope you watch them. And I hope you enjoy them. There's ongoing controversy and shit with all kinds of stuff. If you haven't been watching it. And here's the other thing. I think somebody dropped on this card because I think Donald Cerrone is fighting also this Saturday night. He came back to fight Alex Hernandez. So, who's Alex Hernandez fighting? I don't know, but clearly one of these fights is not going off. So, or maybe, you know what? I may be completely wrong. It may be one of the preliminaries, even though this is a fight night that they did or didn't show. So Cerrone is going to fight Alex Hernandez. And here's the bottom line, dude. Donald Cerrone is one of my favorite fighters ever. I saw that kid in Colorado when Tap Out found him. in the middle of nowhere before he went down to New Mexico, before he went to the Great Fight Camp, which he's had some falling out with, right? And he is a Midwestern, simple, thankful, hardworking, brutal motherfucker. He did the Muay Thai. He had the long lines. He had a long stance. He loped. Didn't have head movement. Didn't have good head movement. And because of that, multiple times had a broken jaw. That became his Achilles heel. He'd take shots to the chin. His jaw would break. His mouth would open. He'd bleed out of his mouth. He'd have to breathe through his mouth. Could no longer. And then his fight game would diminish during the fight. And that happened multiple times. And then he actually evolved slightly and learned that he had to move. He's not a good mover. He does a stalking approach with a wide stance and moves toward you. He's very, very able with his kicks, low kicks and high kicks. He's had a number of high kick knockouts. But he's aged. He doesn't have the chin that he has. Still in it. He epitomizes fitness. His conditioning, his cardio are insane. He's always cut to the bone when he walks in. Minimal, 3, 4, 5% body fat. He operates like that almost all the time. He's got some giant ranch out in New Mexico with a training facility that he built in one of those steel buildings. He brings people in. He sort of left the gym in New Mexico, in Santa Fe, where he trains, or wherever the fuck it is. And I can't remember. You guys, I'm ashamed. One of the greatest coaches in history. But Jackson Winklejohn, right? So he would go in occasionally and train with them and bring fighters and have training camps and then go back to his ranch. Recently, he's talked about how Greg Jackson has been completely superseded by Mike Winklejohn. And Mike Winklejohn was the administrator and the grower of the gym. Greg Jackson was the actual mixed martial artist who really trained and did a lot of the stuff. Winklejohn brought other experts and other coaches in, but Jackson was the guy that was the scary motherfucker that trained people and had the mindset that made Donald Cerrone. And Donald Cerrone was mad because Greg Jackson did not participate and have the input that he felt was critical for him to be successful continuing. And they had that idiot fighter, the big mouth, I can't remember his name, who went down. I don't think he could. No, he wasn't the guy that called the Scott or whatever, that called the Brazilians filthy animals. This guy was newer to the gym, and they backed him in his fight against Donald Cerrone, and they trained him in the training camp. So Donald got upset, left, and held his entire training camp on his ranch. And I think he's sort of moved away from the Jackson Wink gym, which is unfortunate. And he bashed it on a number of media outlets, Joe Rogan and ESPN and some other interviews that he did. He stated that they bring bums off the street, the coaches are shitty, which is also unfortunate. That's just cannot be the case. That's going to be and always will be one of the premier training environments on the globe. That's a hotbed down there. But he's fighting, so we'll have to see how that goes. Some great fights coming up here. Maybe not as big as the end of 2018, but still some exceptionally big fights. And I implore you to watch them, cheer for them, enjoy them, pick your sides, watch the techniques, learn from them. But first and foremost, and most importantly, be happy and have fun. Bam! There's your fight breakdown. I hope you enjoyed it. Shoot me some comments. Shoot me any... questions, thoughts if you want, and subscribe if you haven't. Thank you. Out.